over at BangTheBook.com. We are your one-stop shop for sports betting news and information. We got a lot of college basketball conference previews up for you. All the major players will be going up here today. Most of them already have gone up, and we're getting into some of the mid and low majors as well. So we'll have you fully prepared for the college basketball season. I also put together a college basketball situational betting spots piece to go along with the ones that we have in the NHL, NBA, and college football on a weekly basis over at the website. College football power ratings are up. NFL power ratings will come Wednesday night from Danny Vorgs. We'll have NASCAR and UFC and a whole bunch of stuff as we head on into the weekend as well. So keep it tuned right over there at BangTheBook.com. Finally, as you know, this and every edition of Bang the Book Radio, presented by our friends over at DSI Sportsbook. BTB and the number 200 is that promo code. 100% deposit match bonus for the Sportsbook. 100% deposit match bonus for the live casino at BetDSI. It's only a game until you bet it. Two guests on the program here today, and our leadoff hitter is Brian Blessing, the host of Sportsbook Radio and Vegas Hockey Hotline. Brian, how's it going today, man?
Well, a leadoff hitter that would need a designated runner if he got on base.
Fair enough. Why, your legs don't work because it's too cold out there?
No, they don't work because I'm old.
All right, fair enough.
Oh, my God. No, I mean, the knees, oh, my God. Both knees are shot.
It doesn't keep you from playing golf, though.
I can golf. That's the crazy thing. I can golf, but stairs are not fun.
All right. Well, you know, at least you can golf. I mean, I use golf as an excuse to day drink whenever I get a chance to go out there. So,
well, the funny thing is, I had so many friends for so many years, and just a bunch of idiots that I'd say, golf, man. I said, I'm telling you, golf. It's the only thing you'll be able to do when you're older to still compete and do something. And, you know, I mean, knock on wood, like I said, I mean, I got knee braces and, 3 Advil, and, and some swing oil while you're playing. No, man, I say this to anybody out there, man, learn to play golf because it's the only thing you can do when you're old.
Well, I will say this. I mean, I guess we get a little bit of that competitive fervor from betting on the NFL, which also includes the same frustrations I generally have on the golf course of throwing clubs and kicking whatever's close by. Another interesting week in the NFL, more bad officiating. I mean, that's just kind of a theme here.
Yeah,
overall,
how about extra
else?
points?
Yeah, man, I
nuts.
don't get it. It's crazy.
I said to Chuck Esposito, I said, why don't you start putting a prop up? Every Sunday, over under 3.5 missed extra point. It's ridiculous.
It really is. And yet you still have several coaches week after week putting the games on their kickers with field goals and whatever else. And of course, one of the worst beats of the season here, Seattle with a chance at a game-winning field goal, can't make it. Then, of course, they score a touchdown in overtime. Kudos to those that got 6.5, but that line came all the way down to 4. So everybody 5.5 on down with a loser there in that one. But other than that game, what were some of your takeaways from week 9?
Well, I will, just as an aside, just to tell the story, because all we do is whine about the bad beats, but there's another side of the coin. So I've had my head ripped off more times than I can remember, but I had Seattle. I get the lucky cover. The only way you're going to get it is overtime, and the one early in the year, I bet the Bills in the second half minus 8.5. And they returned the onside kick for the touchdown and got the win. So all we do is remember the bad beats, but remember there's another side of the coin where people get the lucky win. And fortunately, I got to stop whining about the bad beats because I've got 2 of the luckiest wins I could ever get this year.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the bad beats hurt really bad, and the satisfaction you get from, having a wrong side winner or something that gets lucky like that, it never seems to add up to the same thing. I feel
it does not.
You remember all those bad beats. I mean, you've got the iconic line in Rounders. Everyone just remembers the bad beats more than anything else. In any event, let's see if we can have some better fortunes here in week 10 of the NFL. And we go to Thursday night. And, speaking of getting fortunate, I had the Oakland Raiders in both the Super Contest and the Circa, and I never would have thought that I would need a goal line stand from the Raiders defense to come up with a win there in that one. But they do get it. Now they take on the Chargers on a short week. Brian, we got a flipped favorite situation here where Oakland was minus 1.5. Now Chargers -1 with extra juice, pretty much market wide.
Well, it's clearly, this is the definition of the era we live in. And that's the Chargers looked really good against the Packers. And, 1 week to the next, and the number fluctuates. That was a really impressive performance by the Chargers. Give them full marks. The Raiders, let these guys get their feet settled. They've been road warriors, and now they're finally home. And listen, Gruden's doing, I would say this. I would just ask you, to this point of the season, if you're a Chargers fan and a Raiders fan, Chargers fan, underachieve?
Yes.
Raiders fan, are you happy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think Gruden's doing a nice job with his team. And I think the emergence of Josh Jacobs and a consistent running game. And, oh, by the way, I think by no small coincidence why both teams are trending up is Melvin Gordon with the holdout. Guy was invisible. Well, all of a sudden, Gordon's, maybe up to speed, football shape, blah, blah, blah. The fact that both of these teams have a running game and their offense is trending up.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. We were sort of wondering what the impact would be of the Chargers firing Ken Wisenhunt and going in a different direction. And you know what? So far, I mean, I think it obviously went pretty well through that first game. I mean, they ran the football effectively, over 4 yards a carry. Both Gordon and Eckler got involved. Rivers had a strong game. Mike Williams with, 3 big plays there for him. Hunter Henry used a lot, targeted 10 times. I mean, that's the thing that we kind of look around at here in the NFL is that you see a lot of teams using the tight end. And if you've got a guy like Hunter Henry, you better use the tight end. So I think the Chargers just had a strong offensive game plan. Now, of course, the other side of that coin is now the Raiders have an idea of what the Chargers want to do now that they moved on from Wisenhunt. Were the Packers just caught off guard? Probably. Were the Packers just overrated? Yes, to a degree. So I think this is a really interesting short week game here where I don't know if the initial line move is right. I don't know if it's wrong, but I think we find out a lot about what happens the rest of the way in 2019 for these two teams.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this game, Adam, and I think where I'm going with this, that the last 2 weeks, Chargers beat Green Bay, Oakland beats Detroit. Out of conference games are different animals. I mean, it's a game and it matters. But in the grand scheme of things, the conference games, the division games mean more. But there's familiarity here. And you said, yeah, well, hey, man, Oakland, their offenses, they're slinging it all over the place. And, and the Chargers, they put 26 up on the Packers. I think to a degree they got the lead, took their foot off the pedal. But you get a total of 48 here. And to me, when these two teams play, it's a backyard fight. And they know each other. And I think this is a game where the field goal kickers are busy. Everybody's, Carr's hot now, and then Rivers getting it going. We're talking about, Gordon and the offense. I think both defenses kind of ratcheted down in a red zone, and I think it's an under game.
I think so, too. And again, I mean, I guess I can understand why this line moving towards the Chargers. When you look more in depth at that Raiders victory, and again, I got very fortunate. Stafford got picked in the end zone. They had a fumble just outside the red zone. And then, of course, the goal line stand there at the end of the game where Detroit had 4 chances inside the 10. Three chances inside the 10. Couldn't get it in there. Stafford took a bad sack. The Raiders realistically should have lost that game, you could say. So, what happens now? And like you said, too, I think an underrated element of this game is Oakland playing all of those road games. Yeah, they're back home now, but they get that first home game on a regular schedule, on a regular week. Now you've got the quick turnaround. I think there's so much going on with this game, and a lot of people may dismiss it because these two teams are, average, mediocre, whatever you want to call them. I think there's a lot of storylines to this game. I just don't know how I want to bet it outside of, like you said, probably looking at the under.
Yeah, I just think the total's the safer way to go. To me, generally speaking, if I'm I don't have a real, unless I'm really convinced, I go to the total because over the course of 60 minutes, the pace of play, I think, is the safer option. So that's where I'll go. And I know this was not a game we were going to talk about, but just as an extension of what we were just discussing here with the Chargers, this Detroit team, I think it's a good football team. I mean, they should have beat the Chiefs. They should have beat the Packers. They're knee-deep in the game with the Vikings. And then, they can't punch it in at the end of these games. I mean, But you go back to before that Packers game, they were sitting there with a chance to be right near the top of the division, and 2 weeks later they're cellar dwellers, and they can't get out of their own way. But are you telling me, honestly, with what we've seen through the first 8-9 weeks here, or whatever the hell it is, you're telling me Chicago's a 3-point favorite over Detroit?
No, I
don't get that. I don't get that at all. Okay. I guess at the end of the game, Detroit just never does it. But I mean, to me, there's not a doubt who the better team is.
No, I agree with you, and I think it's actually a good segue into the Buffalo and Cleveland game, where you've got Cleveland a 2.5-point favorite. And again, the body of work for Cleveland has not been good at all. I mean, this is a team that obviously has all sorts of issues. They've fallen to 2-6. They're not going to the playoffs. Freddie Kitchens is a lame duck head coach. But one of the things that I run into in college football, these teams that are ultra talented, that just aren't putting it together, aren't getting it done for one reason or another, you still have to give them that level of respect, even though you don't necessarily want to. I think that's kind of the case with a team like Chicago, with all the skill position talent, all the talent on that defense. It's a similar thing here with the Browns, where they have so much offensive talent that's just not coming together. And you want to respect that talent, but at the same time, it's hard to make them a home favorite in this spot.
Well, the rub on this game is Cleveland looks like, to me, they're 10 seconds away from running from the bus. But there's also a boatload of talent there that at some point they get ticked and take it out on somebody. And that's the thing that scares me in this spot for the Bills. The crazy thing is, from the Bills' perspective, and as insane as this sounds, I mean, they had to get off to a fast start, and you shoot all the holes you want at them. They didn't play anybody. I think they play very much to the level of their competition. But there's a real opportunity for the Bills here. If they can win this game, then they get Denver at home and at Miami. So if they can win this game, they're sitting at 9-2. I mean, think of that, Adam. I mean, they literally, if they can get by this game, they should be 9-2. And then the back end, like the New England's facing the meat of their schedule now, the back end was the grisly part for the Bills the last 5 weeks. But all of a sudden, I mean, the Jets are a dog breakfast. Pittsburgh is playing good football, but it's, it's a depleted team. And who knows what happens with New England here in the next 3-4 weeks, because they've got a gauntlet with Dallas and Kansas City. And that Monday night game, to me, listen, if the kid doesn't fumble the punt for Baltimore, I'm telling you, I think that was Boat Race City. I mean, the score ended up being wow, Baltimore. But I mean, they were running them right out of the building until that kid fumbled the punt, and then Ingram fumbled. And they handed the Patriots the points they got. And then the game was in doubt, and then Baltimore got it going again. So, I mean, there's a real opportunity for the Bills here, but this is the game. This is the weird game. Can they walk in here and beat these guys? And maybe getting out of Dodge is a good thing for Buffalo, because they had this long homestand. The play calling, it's great to be able to bitch about something when your team is 6-2. But the play calling is an atrocity. They should have beat the Redskins by 40. They let the Dolphins hang around. They let the Redskins hang around, and they win, and all that matters is win and get out of there. But they're running Frank Gore for why, I don't know. They've got to start utilizing Devin Singletary more. This kid's a weapon. And at some point, maybe they're just getting by and saying he's a rookie, and they want him fresh so he doesn't hit a wall at the end of the year. And the other thing is, Allen is protecting the football. He is doing a lot better in terms of not making the bonehead throw.
Well, and I mean, that's important, because the Browns, I mean, they don't look like a team right now that can sustain a whole lot of long drives. The play calling is a disaster. They keep taking Nick Chubb off the field, so it becomes an obvious passing situation. Even though Chubb's actually a pretty good receiving running back, they bring Hilliard in. The defense knows exactly what's going to happen. Or sometimes they try to run Hilliard, and the offensive line misses a block, and Hilliard gets tackled for a loss in the backfield. The Browns can't get out of their own way with their play calling, and that's what worries me, is that these tendencies are so predictable. I'm just some Joe Dumbass fan watching on TV, and I know exactly what's coming. I'm not calling out plays like Tony Romo. I'm not calling out plays like Gruden used to do when he was on the broadcast, or like Dan Orlovsky's been doing this year. I'm not doing any of that, but I still have an idea of what's coming. They're making it too easy for all of these opposing defenses. Baker's throwing off his back foot. He's not stepping into anything. They're not giving anybody the chance to win a one-on-one ball downfield. I don't know how the Browns have any success against this Buffalo defense. So
well, here's the thing.
Worry is the Buffalo offense, and the under is the way you look here.
Right. Well, but I will say this: if they don't overthink it, all right, Beckham will get a big player too, just because he's that good. But the Bills are going to put Trey White on him. Trey White's one of the very best lockdown corners in the league. Very much under the radar. This kid is terrific. So Beckham will get a big player too. It's just, it's going to happen. But he's going to really take Beckham, to me, over the course of 60 minutes out of the game. If they've got to they got to stick with the running game and give the ball to Chubb. And the one thing in the last couple of weeks that's been exposed, Adrian Peterson did it, Sanderson did it. Don't be an idiot. Don't overthink it. Stick with Chubb, run right up the middle. That's how you beat this Bills defense. But if you're going to be sitting there and thinking you're going to go up and down the field against this secondary, you're dreaming. I mean, if they go and make throwing the ball the focal point of their offense, the Bills will create turnovers. If the Browns keep it simple and run Chubb, they probably win the game, to be honest with you.
Well, and obviously the worry here is, do they do that? Do they try and placate Odell Beckham Jr.? Because he's bitching he wants the football. And you can't blame him for that. And he was open on that fourth down play. But, does a second-year quarterback like Baker Mayfield and a first-year head coach in Freddie Kitchens, are they able to say, you know what, this is about winning the football game, and giving the ball to Chubb 25 times gives us the best chance to do that, given the strength of the Bills secondary? I don't know if that's the case. I almost feel like Beckham gets force-fed 11 or 12 targets next week to a very low percentage of catches, and the Browns shoot themselves in the foot that way. So I think the under is the way I'm looking here. I don't think I can touch a side, but I think I would expect to see the Browns continue to struggle. I think their defense is good enough to hold the Bills at bay.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. The one thing I just look, this is more being Dr. Phil trying to figure out, what is Cleveland? They're all more than willing to, do their commercials and all the hype and look at us and blah, 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 blah in the summer months. And then it's not going well. And then all of a sudden, some guy asks a question and, oh, you're an idiot. You don't play the game. You don't know. Well, I know. I'm watching what you're doing. It's garbage. It's hot garbage. So and now they got the pout. And if he's out there pouting in front of the media, what's going on in the room?
I guess we'll wait and see what the Browns look like there on Sunday. Of course, what the Bills look like too, because as you said, kind of feels like one of those tricky little spots for Buffalo here in this week's matchup. You did a video for this game over at our Bang the Book YouTube page, so make sure you head on over there and check that out. The Falcons and the Saints, both of these teams off some extra rest here. New Orleans, a 13-point home favorite. What are you thinking about this one, Brian?
I can't think anything other than Atlanta and the over. That's what this series has always been. And Ryan comes back from the ankle injury. If you assume he's okay, and he's not a complete pylon, but you got Jones and Ridley, and they can score. Usually there's the home road dichotomy, but the one thing, even when they play for whatever reason at New Orleans indoors, it's not weather. I think Atlanta goes up and down the field. And I'll throw this at you. It'll be interesting to see what New Orleans is like defensively now. And I'll draw the analogy to Tennessee of all teams. When Mariota couldn't do a thing, and Tennessee's offense was just a joke, their defense was playing like men possessed because they knew they had no out. All of a sudden, Tennessee's offense is not great, but it's serviceable with Tannehill. And all of a sudden, Tennessee's defense is letting up points. So now, Bridgewater, the defense was playing their lungs out, and Bridgewater was managing the games, and they're winning hard-fought, close games. But now it's Breeze back, and they're going to start slinging it around and going up and down the field. And in a weird way, I think it has an impact on the New Orleans defense. And for whatever reason, off the bye, I know it's a dog's breakfast, but I think the backdoor cover's actually very much in play here. I just see these teams going up and down the field. I mean, I think it's a game's in the 30s.
I actually like Atlanta in this spot. I don't know if I'll have the stones to use them in a contest context, but I do like Atlanta in this one. When you look at New Orleans, when you're playing that well, you don't want to buy. You don't want to step away from the game for a week. I mean, maybe if you're hurt, you do. But when you've got that kind of consistency and that kind of rhythm, you don't want a week off. You want to keep playing. So I think that hurts the Saints a little bit here in this spot. And also, too, it was a pretty good bye week for them. You know, Drew Brees gets another week off. Green Bay gets beat. Minnesota gets beat. Seattle wins, but doesn't look very good in the process. You still have your 2-game cushion on Carolina. This is the first of 4 straight division games here for the Saints. Falcons at Tampa Bay, Carolina, short week Thursday night Thanksgiving game at Atlanta. Then you've got the big game against the Falcons on December 8th. So I think for the Saints, I don't think you're so much worried about margin here. Obviously, the question is, how does Atlanta come off the bye? But the fact that they didn't fire Dan Quinn for whatever reason, he must not have lost the locker room yet, I guess. Or you're, tanking in hopes of getting Tua to replace Matt Ryan down the line or getting Chase Young or something. But they kept the guy for whatever reason. And I have to feel like there's a method to that madness here. So I do like Atlanta for a few different reasons in this spot. On the other hand, they may just be that bad, especially defensively, that they get trucked.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the one thing could be they are professional athletes, and, we poke holes at these guys. But Miami got their win, right? I mean, there's professional pride in play. So, the heat's off them. There's not a bagel on the board for them. Atlanta, guys playing for jobs. The coach obviously is out of a job. But, like you said, if he hasn't lost the room, they view it as a reboot and go, okay, guys, let's just forget. It sounds stupid, but let's just forget everything that's happened and start over. And I'm sure this is what they're telling them for the last 10 games. Our season starts today. It's a brand new, you know what I mean? And if the players buy in, we'll find out. If they get rolled here, they're a fade the rest of the way.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that sentiment. If they get beaten by 30 or something like that, this team is completely untouchable and toxic. And who knows? Maybe they get beat by 30 off the bye. Dan Quinn gets fired now, which, would be kind of interesting, especially since during the bye week, they moved around some of his assistant coaches. So, I guess we'll kind of see how that one plays out. But speaking of seeing how things play out, we've got a big old card tonight here in the NHL. Of course, it coincides with the first night of college basketball. But we'll talk about a team that you know pretty closely and a team that I know fairly closely, Vegas and Columbus. Columbus not playing well at all, not getting any goaltending whatsoever. Maybe not the greatest of spots for Vegas as they start heading back west, but what do you think about this one, Brian?
Well, I will tell you this. Vegas is going to be fine, and they're going to win lots of games, and they're going to make the playoffs. And I, for 3.5 weeks, have been saying, hey, kids, are you watching what's going on here? Vegas defense is a train wreck. And, oh, yeah, but Nate Schmidt was out. Yeah, okay, great. I get it. They're better with him. Nate Schmidt's not Bobby Orr. Just because Nate Schmidt's out doesn't mean 5 other guys can play, not play well at all. And then I said, well, okay, so just be careful because here's what's going to happen. They're going to play Montreal off back-to-back nights, and then they're going to have Winnipeg come in who has to play the night before in San Jose. So it's there on a platter for them. Maybe you roll these guys because you're playing them on back-to-back nights, but nothing's been solved because it's there for you. Those teams are at a massive disadvantage coming to Vegas, and when they go on the road, then we'll really know. What do? 2 teams come in here off back-to-back nights when they should be getting tired and worn out. Both games, Montreal and Winnipeg, come back from 2-goal deficits in the third period and win the games. Vegas has a real issue on the defensive side right now. They're just off kilter. I do believe, that at some point, George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon are sitting here watching this team going, we got Fleury for 2-3 more years, and this team's built to win now. I don't know when the day comes, but they're going to have to make a deal and get a physical, stout, stay-at-home defenseman because I don't think they can, make a run in the playoffs with this defense. So that being said, and Fleury's coming back. He had the flu. He may or may not play tonight, but Korpisalo is playing for Columbus. Just the way things have been going. And the other thing, I would say Adam, it's human nature, and Vegas isn't the only team that does this. Um, you go on the road, you play a simple game. But then you come home and you try to do too much and you get too fancy in front of the home fans. And Vegas keeps doing these cross-ice, stretch passes, and they're getting themselves in trouble. Getting out of here may be the best thing for them. It's a 4-game Eastern road swing. Simplify the game. Dump it in and go get it. I mean, everything's a highlight reel goal. And they get themselves in trouble because of it. If they dump it in, the problem is, and I'm going overboard on this team, but 2 years ago they were a rocket sled. And, they just outskated everybody. It's a different animal when they say play our game or what's our identity. They don't know what their identity was. It used to be a rocket sled speed team. Now you've got Stone and Pacioretty. So you're a mix of speed and size, and they're like caught in the crosshairs. They're caught in the middle of, do we dump and chase or do we, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think they know their identity yet. It's a weird dynamic, and they're going to be fine just because of where they reside. But they're a scary play. I mean, are they really $1.45 on the road the way they're playing right now?
Yeah, I guess it's a fair question. Thanks for the correction there. This is the first of a 4-game road swing here this week for Vegas. 4 games and 6 nights. So appreciate the correction there on that one. Anything else you're looking at tonight here on the NHL card?
Honestly, of all the games tonight, I didn't like much tonight. Last night, I had Arizona, and they spit the bit in regulation, but won it in overtime. This Arizona team is good. They're watch out for Arizona. Playing back-to-back nights, tough spot for them up in Calgary. But Kemper is really good. And I'm just looking at it. It's a weird card. I'm not doing a cartwheel. The one it's almost like when it looks too good to be true, something's up. How is Carolina? Well, here it goes now. I did it about an hour ago. It was minus a dime, and now it's starting to go. It's minus 15. William Hill's actually got minus a quarter, so the money's finally showing up on Carolina. I just thought that was a bad number. I think Carolina's much better than Philadelphia. I like Carolina. That was kind of the game I liked tonight.
All right, one last thing I want to ask you about here on the NHL side. The Sabres and the Lightning play over in Stockholm, Sweden later on this week, the NHL Global Series. They play a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, very early puck drops especially for you, the morning puck drops there over in Sweden. What do you think about these Global Series games? I mean, how do you kind of handicap them, especially playing on the different ice surface?
Well, the two teams over there make sense. The funny thing is, I think the big reason that the Lightning were there was Victor Hedman, and he's sketchy. He's over there, but it's doubtful he plays. He's going to try to practice and go. The Sabres have like 5 Swedish guys that are prominent in their lineup, headlined by Rasmus Dahlin. But the Lightning, something just ain't right with these guys. And the Sabres lost their last 2. They got killed by Washington. And then they lost to the Islanders, who are on a dead heater right now, and got shut out 1-0. But actually, for long stretches of that game, Buffalo was the better team. But the Islanders did a great job of keeping them out on the outside. The Islanders got a garbage goal. So, honestly, Buffalo's catching Tampa Bay at the right time, because I don't know what's going on. The Lightning, something ain't right with them. They're just a mess in their own end.
Well, we'll see how that one plays out, and then obviously see how those two teams do coming back stateside to get back into the regular rhythms of the season there. We'll stay outside the U.S., and we'll take a look at the Turkish Airlines Open real quickly here. No PGA Tour event this week coming off the Asian swing, but we do have a European Tour event here, again, over in Turkey. Pretty good field. Justin Rose, Patrick Reed, Shane Lowry, Tyrrell Hatton, Matt Wallace, Francesco Molinari's in this one. Hao Tong Lee is a very solid player. Alex Noren, good player as well. Once again, you did a video for this one over on our Bang the Book YouTube page. Who are you looking at here over in Turkey?
Well, on the podcast with you last week, we said, Xander Schauffele can't play McIlroy at the price. We like Xander Schauffele, and, of course, Schauffele birdies 18, gets to a playoff and loses in the playoff, and McIlroy got it done. But I watch... Again, what happened last week that you can translate, and that's the thing that stinks when you get close. And the other thing that stunk was because of the timing of the thing, with the phone apps here, No one put up odds on the match on the playoff. Where there was an easy hedge opportunity, and I had no way to do anything about it. I look at guys that made a statement at the end of last week that come into this week. Justin Rose is the 8-1 favorite, and for good reason. He's a back-to-back defending champion of this event, so clearly the course suits his eye. He played okay. He was no great shakes last week. The guy that was playing like a lunatic on Sunday, and there's a weird dynamic in play. The second choice is Patrick Reed at 11-1. And I'd be all in here. Patrick Reed would be the play because he's trying to impress Tiger Woods to be a President's Cup pick. And obviously Reed in match play and, Captain America and all that stuff. But he showed it mattered to him because Tiger's making the picks tomorrow. So now I think it's a no-brainer that he's going to get picked. So I don't know if that means the air's out of the balloon, that he had to keep showing Tiger something, or he's in good form because he was trying to show Tiger something, and now he's in. I like Reed better than Rose. And then there's some prize plays that I just think Paul Waring played phenomenal last week in China. He was 50-1. He's down to 40-1. I think Paul Waring is absolutely a guy you could take a long, hard look at. And the other guy is where is he? Oh, he's just the Swedish dude. And his name, it's not Beauregard. Did he take money? I'm losing the guy. Here it is. Thank you. Joachim Lagergren at 80-1 is a guy that's in pretty good form, and there's no way he should be 80-1. He should be more. If Eddie Pepperell's 35-1 and Keimer's 40-1, he should be in that range. But the guy that I think you can hit a home run with here, what am I missing? Nicholas Kolsarts is 80-1. He won his last tournament. How's this guy 80-1?
I don't know. It's a good question. I guess maybe we'll find that out this weekend.
So no, I think this and this is the focal point, and then the matchups are obviously, Adam, the golf is just, it's like anything else. Letdown spot, sandwich games. They had the heartbreak of Schauffele not winning the playoff, but hammered the matchups. And, Matsuyama the week before played great. Home country, all the pressure, and he responded, and he's in a 2.5-day, basically head-to-head duel with Tiger Woods. And then he's got to go to the next tournament. Like, he was Fade City. It was like, there was no way this guy had anything left in the tank. So, 1 week to the next. Don't be afraid to watch. In golf, what do we talk about all the time in this pocket? The great players compete and they contend even when they don't have their A game, and they're always on the first or second page of the leaderboard. But the majority of these guys have a 4 or 5 week form cycle. So if you see a guy that's, playing pretty decent golf at the end of a weekend, maybe he had a bad round, the second round, don't be afraid to carry that into the next week, because if he figures something out on the weekend, he figured something out, and it's going to work. But it's only going to work for 3 or 4 weeks, so you get a short window to do something about it.
Brian Blessing, the host of Sportsbook Radio and Vegas Hockey Hotline. Great wrap up there on the Turkish Airlines Open. What do you got going on your show here today or throughout the week?
No, it's, you said it, pal. As if there's not enough on the menu, and the army of college basketball games begin. So, that gets rocking and rolling right now. But the second half of the NFL season, college football, I know you're going to be talking college hoops with Ralph, but that time of year in college football, bud, look at teams and where they stand with their record, and that motivation kicks in for teams to become bowl eligible. Oh, we're all focused on Bama, LSU. There's a lot of opportunities that are out there on the board just with the time of year. And we talked to all the sportsbook directors, and we have great guests on Sportsbook Radio. That's noon Pacific, KSHP.com. And hockey fans, a lot of Golden Knights talk, but we do talk a lot about the NHL and things that are going on. Vegas Hockey Hotline, that's at 1 p.m. Pacific. The shows are archived for you at sportsbookradio.com. We got videos at Bang the Book. You can follow me on Twitter at Brian Blessing.
There you go. A lot of stuff going on here. To be sure, one of the busiest men in the industry is Brian Blessing. Again, Sportsbook Radio, Vegas Hockey Hotline, KSHP.com, at Brian Blessing on Twitter. Brian, appreciate your time as always, man. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk to you again next week.
Enjoy that tailgate Sunday.